Peace, y'all. It's Maxine, the Oracle, one half of Remnants Gathering, aka Widow Gang Gang. You know what it is. So, why are you seeing me? And I'm off schedule. I'm totally off schedule. It's because as an oracle, and I feel the pulse of what's happening, there are just some things that I see that it is a much bigger event happening under the surface. And that event happening under the surface, I've been feeling for a little while now, which is the reason why with the webinars, the online classes that we've been doing, was because of the pulse that I've been feeling. So, the age of Aquarius and the divine feminine energy has returned. And with its return, it is exposing hypocrites. It is exposing people who do not own their shadow self. It is exposing people who have been brainwashed and are brainwashing others. It will not be tolerated on this planet. Fake spiritual practitioners, fake preachers, fake relationship, gurus. Like, it's all coming out. You either have to be who you are and 100% own that shit, or you're gonna get exposed. That's just what it is. And for those of us who've been going through a spiritual awakening, we've already figured this stuff out. So we're working on ourselves, right? And we're integrating with the shadow aspects of ourselves and learning how to love ourselves in a non-judgmental way and releasing judgment. So with the situation with Action Jackson, Derrick Jaxn and his wife, with that situation, I could do a whole series on this, and I just might, because it is a much deeper spiritual significance. Now, a lot of the narcissistic abuse that happens within the realm of relationships, families, centered around, typically centered around some type of sexual dysfunction. We've been talking about this so much. And y'all, look, when we did the conscious parenting course, breaking down the detrimental impacts that we have personally dealt with from right-hand path religion, I did not realize that it was gonna be a world stage happening. Like, that's the end of the week of us doing that course. So for those of you who took that course, comment below and let people know what that experience was like for you. Because everybody is putting online classes together and doing webinars and like everybody doing it, but like people don't know like what can really help me and what can really benefit me and what can really help me see what I have survived. So for those of us who come through religion, it's surviving religion, because it is constructed on a very abusive slave master, savior, martyr archetype. And what happens is you fall into whichever one it seems like you fit into or you're encouraged to be. And when you look at situations like this, and I'm going to try to keep this short because I have so much other stuff that I really need to be focused on doing, that we're trying to get ready to roll out. But what happens is you combine spiritual narcissism, aka right-hand path religion. If you feel some kind of way about this, I do not own the way that you feel. You're entitled to feel the way that you want to feel about this. But this is my perspective from my experience. Everybody has their own. But the highest percentage of divorce, the highest percentage of molestation, right-hand path Monotheistic religion is higher than any other statistic of any other community. Why is that? Because right-hand path religion was constructed so that certain energies could pose as gods and be fed by people's worship and feed off of that energy. And so it's a very parasitic and energy to be in, first of all. So that makes it toxic and dysfunctional. It's narcissistic. The purpose, the foundations of it is based on blood sacrifice. So much blood. Think how much blood been shed just for these monotheistic belief systems to anchor themselves. Look at the wars. Many of them were fueled by these belief systems, and so you combine that with wounded people, with traumatized people who are just searching for something to help them to feel better and to be better. And this is what you get. This is what you get. This is a surviving religion. This is surviving religion, aka right-hand path programming, where the ability to access your shadow self is impossible until you purge yourself of the brainwashing. We did not start doing shadow work as soon as our spiritual awakening happened. We actually went deeper into religion before we saw that we needed to be detoxed of our belief systems that were no longer serving us and were actually serving these deities, these thought forms, these egregores who were feeding off of our worship, feeding off of our pleading and our praying and our repenting. And, it was just such a traumatic experience to awaken to this fact, and then to see so many people around you and people you care about it in your family, and that they're feeding a thought form that has been oppressing and murdering and raping and plundering and pillaging since the beginning. That's a hard one. It's difficult so with this happening, this is the unraveling that we've been talking about. These spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual mask must come off. And, I don't have a best-selling book. If I wanted to, I could. If I had to sit down and had a conversation with Mr. Jackson, he wouldn't be able to do shit with a scripture with me. And I'm thankful for the ignorance that was blissful for me, because I studied scripture backwards and forwards. Men have been using scriptures to abuse their wives and to make it okay. And okay, we could say maybe women have too. But right now the focus is on the masculine, the dominant masculine energy on this planet that is toxic. And a lot of it is toxic because of religion. So religion takes you into this. Let me get into the sexual part, because I want to get into the why your sacral chakras is all fucked up. So you're told that these very natural inclinations are wrong. You're shamed. You're not allowed to pleasure yourself. Okay, that's sinful. That's wrong. You can go to hell for that. You're shamed about having sex before you get married, so you feel pressure to marry people that you probably should have never married, right? You have a bunch of children that you probably shouldn't have had with the people you had them with, right? But you're trying to do it the opposite of the way the world do it. So you don't want baby mamas and baby daddies, and you feel like you're doing a better job than them, right? And you don't even realize the detriment of the program. So you have all of this shame, all of this guilt. You're guilt-ridden because every time you fornicate, masturbate, look at another woman with lust in your heart, right? You're guilt-ridden. So for somebody like Derrick Jaxn, if we just get into the psychology of this and the detrimental impacts of religion, it's detrimental not just on parenting, and reparenting, but it's detrimental on your ability to be intimate and have relationships. So you try to suppress something that is natural. When you're doing that, you actually create a bigger beast. You feed a bigger beast. So the lack of you're experiencing the scarcity of being able to flow and use sexual energy in a healthy way, right? And so what happens is it builds up and builds up and builds up until it turns into some form of addiction, some form of dysfunction, some form of perversion. So, you know, you're either sleeping with a lot of people, having risky sex, not caring about how you're impacting the bodies of the people that you're laying down with. Hell, you don't even care what happens to your body. You know, let's just speak from experience. A lot of us can relate to that. We were careless. But under the surface of all of this is a very wounded individual who is seeking for something that the religion he or she is in, is not giving them. But because everybody telling them they wrong and this, that, and the other, then they feel like they have to be somebody they really not. So they end up in a marriage they really shouldn't have been in the first place. So a lot of men, and I've experienced this personally, a lot of men in church are some of the biggest hoes. And they are very male chauvinistic, toxic, masculine, and they're very emasculated when you really look at it, because for a man to have to feel like he have to overpower women and play with women's feelings and do that, that's some real weak ass shit, and but they don't have the ability to see this. And Ernest can and will and have tell you he couldn't see a lot of his shadow aspects, and they were coming through and showing up in a relationship, and over time it just becomes undeniable, and it's just like, damn, okay, yeah, that's me right there. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely a shadow aspect of me. And so this is what religion does. You think that you're walking in the light, but the light's so bright that you're walking in, and it's a false light that it actually blinds you. Just like the false sun. It's just like when you walk outside and they got the fake sun going. You know what I'm saying? It's so white you can't even look in that direction. You better not try to sun gaze. You know what I'm saying? Like when they got that shit going. We live in the Truman Show. Nothing is what it seems. In the age of Aquarius and divine feminine energy, it's just like, you know what? It's time to get rid of the mask. It's time to get rid of the mask. So the energies that are holding down the 3D matrix say it's time to put mask on. Let's physically put mask on, carry out a mass ceremony or ritual, have people wearing masks because people are getting exposed and coming out of their mask on the spirit in the spiritual realm. So let's wear masks physically because it is a ceremonial ritual to cause people to be more comfortable with their mask on, and to not be comfortable being vulnerable, transparent, bucket naked, just real. It is what it is. If you messed up, you messed up, and but the sad part is the only time that you can admit that you're wrong when religion is brainwashing. Religion is brainwashing, it's programming, and it uses the exact same tactics as MK Ultra mind control program. It used the same tactics that were used by Tavistock Institute to social engineer people. So the only time that you're able to admit that you're wrong is when you are repenting and hoping that you're gonna be reestablished as being righteous. So what this does is you get addicted to the feeling of righteousness. You get addicted to the feeling that you're in good standing with the Lord, that Jesus is proud of you, and people pat you on the back and, good for you, you're repenting, and you feel like it's all over. And not even realizing that your psyche has to be detoxed of the program, repenting and paying tithes to get right and giving an offering is not going to change anything, because religion is not there to change you. It is not there to evolve you. It was created so that you could not awaken to your own divinity and sovereignty, so that you would not take accountability and say, no, my life is like it is because this is what I created. And in order to change it, I must do this. I mean, this is why the mass awakening is happening. This is why churches are being emptied. This is why people are leaving. Our channel is going to be so big. A lot of the services we've been offering y'all, we're not going to be able to do it anymore, because as the awakening is happening and people are being called back to themselves and going through soul retrievals, this is when your soul starts calling you and waking you up with numbers and waking up at certain times of the night and constantly seeing repetitive words, and like the universe literally just starts speaking to you with the zeros and the ones so that you can see the program of the matrix. And the more that people wake up and are leaving religion, that's why I kept everything on my channel through my whole journey, because I always knew, I was like, people are going to need this journey. People are going to need to to have a blueprint, to kind of have an idea, because there was nobody there to hold my hand through none of this. You know, I had to figure it out on my own. And shout out to the other people, you know who you are, who were a part of my journey. You know, shout out to you and thank you. But I had to do the work. And I have become a person that I can be proud of. And I don't need a deity to make me feel proud of me. I'm proud of me because of the work that I have had to do. And I have come a long way. And most of the men that I have had sexual relationships with had this template. They had this embedded blueprint, this programming. And so their mental state was not healthy. You know, the spiritual was just a shell and a mask, and for them to hide behind. And when you're able to be honest with yourself, then healing can happen for real. But as long as you feel like a couple of tears, a repentant prayer, and an offering is gonna atone you, then no growth will happen. No growth will happen. So that's what we see happening. And so many women are gonna find out what they men really been doing. And I'm talking about women right now. And I could say, you know, the shoe could be on the other foot, of course. But from my experience, it was mostly the men in the church who had this very narcissistic relationship with the church and with women. And they treated women, just didn't treat them good. And if they treated them good, it was just trying to be nice to get what they wanted. So it's like it was manipulation no matter which way it went. So I would rather deal with a hood nigga, you know, and at least he go be real. And if he go be a dog ass nigga, he go admit that than to deal with a dude who acting righteous at church, but then I know who he really is. You know what I'm saying? So it got to that point. I was like, I don't even want to deal with dudes that's in church no more, because they have no connection with their dark side. They operate in it, but they don't have a connection and aren't aware. So that makes it more toxic. You know, it's like a psychopathic murderer who goes into these blackouts and don't know he doing this, and then he's a whole different person the next day. Like it makes it worse than somebody who's just a fucking murderer and he's just like, it is what it is. Yeah, I did that. You know, at least you can be like, okay, well, you know, you like, how do you be in a relationship with somebody who's not even in a relationship with themselves? So this is what religion has done. And this is why real intimacy is one of the most difficult things in the world to have when you come through this. So your sacral chakra, you came through religion, your sacral chakra, yeah, it needs to be balanced. And it's not going to be one meditation. It's not going to be one sound bath that's going to do it. It's not going to be one affirmation. It is going to have to be something that you are devoted to healing. And when it gets tough, you're going to have to keep going, because we are living in a time where we are having to give account for every word, every action, and every thought. So all of the shit that we did up to this point, We're seeing that manifest in our lives. And you have to accept it. That's my shit. I'm responsible to fix it. It's going to take time. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to keep going. That's the mentality that you have to walk this path. I'll be talking about it so much more, so much that I could say. But just watch. Watch how much more stuff comes out, and watch how many men get exposed. It's the rise of the side chicks. The side chicks tired of being the side chicks, and the wives are starting to awaken and say, you know what? I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to deal with this. Watch how many women, this, like the toxic masculine energy that comes through religion, that's what's gonna wake a lot of women up. And they're gonna be like, is something wrong here? Is something wrong with my man? Is something wrong with the pastor? Is something wrong with the deacons? I'm starting to see a commonality. This reminds me of my dad. This reminds me of the stuff my mama went through. And that's gonna make the awakening amplify. Just watch. So yeah, for those of you who already been on this journey, kudos to you, because it's definitely going to get easier for us as this happens. But some people are just now awakening. This is what the tribulation is. This is what the last days is. This is what the judgment day is, where you have to give an account, not to a Lord, not standing before a man sitting on a throne with a long beard, but to yourself, to the extension of source energy that you are to yourself, where you have to face yourself and you have to give an account, and your conscious mind is going to start to allow this stuff to seep through from the unconscious mind to remind you. If you're wearing a mask, you will be exposed. So you can just take the mask off and start healing, or you can keep wearing the mask, but you're going to struggle. It's not going to be good for people who keep the mask on. People are going to have to let go of the traditional belief systems that they have been using to not be who they really are and to get praise from the world. And if I had that man's platform and his following, man, so many people would be helped, but he has abused his power. That's not even really power. It's just the illusion of power. It's a wounded masculine. That's all it is. And we're going to see more of this. And yeah, so if you happen to be watching this, and maybe you're one of those people who are awakening, and maybe this situation made you feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about what I've been in a situation very similar or whatever it may be. Like, learn about your chakras. Learn about you. To know God is to know thyself. Man, your third eye has just been kissed. Peace.